For my game design theory work, I've decided to show you two of my design boards and my final design proposal. For the first design board, I've chosen level environments and the game to be Mario Kart World. Some of the intermission tracks in between the tracks that the players are forced to drive on during Grand Prix and online are quite boring and simple, since they just feature a straight line with no obstacles, no enemies, one path, no shortcut, and the glider sections add nothing. As you can see from this image of this design which I've gathered from the current design of one of the intermission tracks, Peach Stadium to Cooper Trooper Beach. I've redesigned this through multiple sketches, so from a top-down view you can see all the components that I've added, alternate paths. I've added another close-up top-down screenshot as one of the alternate route is a bridge which features grind rails and a boost pad, more item boxes with enemies underneath on the second path. This is a gameplay screenshot of the split where the paths split, so you can drive up there on the off-road to get up there, or you can go down the more dangerous but possibly quicker path. And then this is a screenshot. This is a gameplay screenshot design or gameplay sketch of the first path that goes underneath the bridge, which is more dangerous but quicker. I feel like this added design, or adding more design to these tracks, would increase the player engagement and how players receive or how the players feel while playing the game, as at the moment just driving in a straight line is boring, especially on a arcade kart racer. For other solutions, Sonic Racing Crossworlds by Sega uses visual effects to make the gameplay more interesting, more exciting, and Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled by Activision uses a more competitive structure to its game, which makes it feel a bit more high stakes. Outside of games culture, the film Rush by Peter Morgan maintains engagement between main races with practice laps and travelling, which I thought was a pretty cool, inspiring thing, which would be nice to capture through a level's design. Onto the second board, Game Feel. I've chosen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R by CyberConnect 2. This is a fighting game which features a lot of pause frames and has a tight input buffer, which make the game feel, in my experience, awful to play, as it feels like you're lagging behind and you can't get the combos. You'll never be able to get the combos right. It feels very inconsistent as a beginner. My redesign would be to change the input buffer, or add a mode to select how to change the input buffer. So when you choose your character, you can choose either casual, which has a looser input buffer, allowing you to input attacks easier, whereas competitive is the original way, which is a really tight input buffer, which allows for a lot more precision, coordinated attacks. As you can see here, I've evaluated how the pause frames appear. On this simple combo here, it has anywhere from 6 to 21 pause frames on each attack, which causes a long pause and makes the game feel inconsistent. Whereas I've compared it to Tekken 8 by Bandai Namco, which uses anywhere from 0 to 1 as I've experienced pause frames on attacks, which makes it feel very fluid and very easy and fun to play. Any other alternate solutions would be to change the dynamic to a platform fighter, as seen in Smash Bros. Ultimate by Nintendo. Game influences outside of games culture. The Matrix uses slow motion or bullet time to accentuate action unraveling in its high stakes action shots, increasing its impact. The redesign would require a bit more development time and budget and resources, but I think the payoff would be marginally worth it, since the game feels quite restricting to a competitive audience. This would open it to a whole brand of new beginner audience. And finally, for my final design project, I've used New Super Mario Bros. U by Nintendo as my example. I feel like the Boom Boom fights, which appear in every world at the center castle, are way too simple. Since all you have to do, this is a screenshot from the World 2, you have to just jump on his head 3 times and he's done, which is very. There's no elements from outside from other levels in here. I thought incorporating those would be a nice way to make the level design feel a bit more fresh and familiar at the same time, with you using the battle to feel fresh, as it's different each time, but it uses familiar mechanics, such as throwing shells in World 2, him throwing shells back and having to maneuver around him. In World 4, there are multiple stages to it, and having to jump on Cheep Cheep's head to get to him. And in World 5, having to eliminate the bramble first, and then maneuver on the moving snake blocks to avoid the poison water and himself from Boom Boom himself jumping at you aggressively. The design of this has been inspired by the game to increase its uniform theme and make the level feel more encased in the game. There are only 6 to 7 Boom Boom fights within the game, so this shouldn't take too many more resources, as all the assets used in these redesigns that I've created are already in the game, so it would be just placing them in the levels. The Wii U's hardware is definitely more than capable to run the redesigned levels, as all these levels are encompassed in a small place with assets which are already in the game. The influence from outside the game's culture is Stranger Things, as each season features almost like a different boss battle. So season 2 they have to take on Mind Flayer, get him out of will and then close the portal. In season 3 they have to take on the Mind Flayer and close the portal, but in different ways. They have to go down into the mall, and then they have to defeat the Massive Flesh Monster. In season 4 they have to take on Vecna whilst also protecting Max, and in season 5 they have to save the children and stop the worlds colliding, which I think is a very cool way to show an unraveling story as it gets progressively more and more intense, more difficult, using up the different things that they learn along the way.